Okay, we're gonna get started. We're starting on the second chakra this week. So that would be the color orange. That's our sacral area. And it has a lot to do with our hips and flowing. And that doesn't mean that it's going to be a big flowing practice today, but it does mean that we're going to get into the movement and the ability for your hips to actually be mobile. So let's go ahead and come to our comfortable seat. And from your seat, make sure, and this can be from sitting in a chair, it can be from sitting up on something on the ground, but make sure that you have the ability to tilt your pelvis. And then hands come to your hips and do a little bit of forward and back movement with your hips, with your pelvis. A little anterior tilt with your belly forward and posterior tilt with your belly moving back. And as you do that, also get a sense for what other parts of your body have to move in order for that to happen. So sometimes that ends up being a lot more torso and shoulder movement. Sometimes you can move your pelvis a little bit more independently. And that's really what we're focusing on, is finding a little bit more independent movement here. And then as you let your belly come a little bit forward, rest your hands down, let your eyes close, and just bring your awareness to your sacral area. Think of about 2 to 4 fingers below your navel. And take a couple big breaths, bringing your awareness to this part of your belly, expanding and contracting. And now bringing the affirmation into this seat and into your practice of, I flow with the rhythms of life, open to the goodness around me. I flow with the rhythms of life, open to the goodness around me. And now bringing hands to connect at heart center. Take a big inhale and lengthen from hip to armpit. Grow longer. Exhale, bow towards your heart. Then as you softly open your eyes and release your hands down, walk your hands out to your knees and start to move in your cat and cow. Exhale, press back through your spine, and inhale, draw your belly and heart forward. And as you move for a couple more rounds of breath, think about this movement as helping that pelvic area, that sacral area, to move more. See if you can soften around those edges of the inhale and exhale, maybe making the transition a little bit more smooth. Take 2 more breaths here. Then inhale, sit tall, and we'll switch the cross of our legs, coming to the less comfortable cross for yourself. Move your sitting bones. And now with your hands out to your knees again, press back with your spine into your cat-like pose, and then inhale, circle your ribs around to the left side, all the way around the front, and exhale back on the right. Inhale, circle around to the left, and exhale back on the right. One more in this direction. Full inhale, long, deep exhale. And then inhale, circle around to your right side, and exhale back on the left. Inhale and exhale. One more big breath. Then inhale, sit tall, walk your fingertips forward to a comfortable distance away. And as you round back through your spine here, chin tucks in particular, notice that place around the navel, drawing back, and take a big breath into your low back here. And then inhale, draw your belly and heart forward and pause here as you find that tilt so that your belly is moving towards your legs or toward the ground. Take a big breath, and again, fill your low back up with breath. And then exhale, press back through your spine, your chin tucks in. This time add a little side to side sway through the shoulders, getting more into the lats, into the sides of the back, those wing muscles. And now, as you sway your shoulders over to the right side, keep that cow or cat-like pose of the rounding of the back body, and just cross your left hand in front of your right. And it doesn't have to go really far in front, it can actually stack right over, but pull in through the ribs and pull in through the low belly. Take a big deep breath again into the back side body here. Notice the lats. Notice the space from hip to armpit on the left side. And then walk your hands over to the left side, and right hand stacks in front of the left. Again, it doesn't have to go really far in front of it, just a little ways. But round in through the back body, and in particular, think of tilting the pelvis so your belly's pulling back. Take a big deep breath, and notice from left or right hip to right armpit rather. And then inhale, come back up to center and all the way upright. And now we'll come forward onto hands and knees. And from hands and knees, set yourself up, wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. Rotate elbow pits forward and push, finding that expansion into the upper back. Tuck toes under and lift hips up and back, downward facing dog pose. And then take a moment here to pedal out. And as you bend one knee at a time, remember you can always do the pedaling out from your hands and knees, just reaching back through one leg at a time. But as you pedal out, think of allowing the pelvis to move. And as you allow the pelvis to move here, so you've got a little bit of a twist perhaps going on through the hips, through the low back a little bit. Just notice any sensations that are showing up for you. Notice the backs of the legs and any tension that might be present. And then as you come back into center now, tilt up with sitting bones, press from lats out through your hands, take a full big deep breath. And then walk your way forward, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Take a moment to notice if you have any tension through the hips, the low back, the hamstrings. Maybe take your feet a little wider than your hips. But inhale and lengthen part way, lengthening forward through your spine, up with sitting bones. Exhale and fold over your legs. Inhale and lengthen. Exhale and fold. And now fingertips plant on blocks or the floor. You can heel toe your feet back into hip distance here if you'd like. Step your right foot back into your lunge. Pause and center with your hips. Take a full big deep breath, growing longer through your front. And now for a moment, have the intention of sending sitting bones up and then send your sitting bones down. One more time this way, sitting bones lift and sitting bones lower. And now work your front leg towards straight, coming into our first hamstring stretch here. And as you push down with your left big toe, wrap your left hip back and send both sitting bones up. Extend further forward with your heart. Maybe be up on the highest points of your blocks here. Take one more big breath. And then inhale, bend into your front knee and step forward. Exhale, step back with your left foot into your lunge. Pause and find that centering action. So you're sending your right hip crease back in space. And then begin that movement with your pelvis. So you're tilting sitting bones to the sky and then tilting your sitting bones down. And as you tilt up with sitting bones and down with sitting bones, just notice what the movement is. There might not be a lot of it because this is an asymmetric pose. One more. Tilt up tilt down. And now work your front leg towards straight, coming into that hamstring stretch. Big toe mound is pushing down as you wrap your right hip back. And then send sitting bones up. Extend your heart forward. Take a full big deep breath. Then inhale, bend into your front knee and step forward. Exhale, fold over your legs. Inhale, lengthen part way, long spine. And then walk your way up your legs to rise all the way up to stand. And as you come up to stand now, bring your hands to your hips. Your feet get to be a little wider than hips, a little bend to your knees. Lift and spread your toes, fire them up, and then root down with your toes. Keep your knees bent, and we're gonna do that tilt of our pelvis that we did in our seat. So a little tilt back with sitting bones, forward with your belly, and then down with sitting bones, back with your belly. And as you do this, moving through your pelvis, keep your knees bent. Try to keep them relatively stationary. Try to keep your shoulders relatively stationary. A little tilt forward, a little tilt back. One more time. And then you can walk your feet in. And as you inhale, stretch up overhead. Exhale, soft through the knees to fold over your legs. Inhale, lengthen part way. Exhale and fold. And now we're planting fingertips, stepping right foot back into your lunge. Turn and plant your back heel so your foot's parallel to the back of your mat. And inhale, rise up to your warrior two. Opening the front knee as you bend into it. Lift your ribs, reach your arms, take a deep breath. And now right hand to your back thigh or hip, or maybe around your low back. Left arm stretches straight up. Bend deeper into your front knee and open it up. Take a big breath and reach further up, and then maybe stretch back a little bit. A little reversing of your warrior. Full breath. And now inhale, rise back up, and at the same time, work your front leg towards straight. Left hand comes into your hip crease and push your hip back. So you're doing a little pelvic tilt here. Extend your heart toward the front of your mat, and then take left hand to your block, to the floor, to your shin, your thigh, wherever it needs to be here, to keep a little bit of straightness to your legs. A little micro bend if you do hyperextend. But push down with your left big toe mound and wrap your left hip back. As you turn your belly and your heart more open, feel free to stretch your top arm up here if it feels good. Take a full big breath. And now inhale, bend into your front knee, plant both hands, and tuck your back toes to step back to either hands and knees or downward facing dog pose. And take a full breath. From this press of lats out through your hands, also bend your knees and tilt your pelvis so sitting bones are lifting up. Inhale, come forward into your plank, and if you'd like to, you can always use your knees on the ground here, but pause and grow longer through your front, and then push and make your back body lifted and strong. On your exhale, bend elbows and lower down all the way to your belly. Set the tops of your feet. Set your hands right by your rib cage, and then before you rise up anywhere, lift up and back with your shoulders and reach back through your triceps. Then inhale, rise up to your height cobra, whatever that looks like for you. Exhale, lower back down. Maybe your forehead comes to touch the ground. Now find a little engagement through your low belly and your ribs. Inhale, curl open again. And exhale, lower back down. One more time here. Engage the low belly and ribs. Inhale, curl open. And exhale, lower back down. Tuck toes and push through hands and knees to down dog, or just to hands and knees. Take a big breath. And now walk your way forward, coming into your forward fold at the front of your mat. Take as many steps as you need to get there. Take an inhale and lengthen part way. Long spine. Exhale and fold over your legs. Plant fingertips. You're stepping left foot back into your lunge. Turn and plant your back heel so your foot's parallel to the back of your mat. Inhale, rise up for the second side of warrior two. As you settle in and open up with your front knee. This is a pretty good sized hip opener, so your hips are open to the left side. Lift your heart up high. Take a big breath. And now back hand comes to your thigh, your hip, or your low back. Right arm reaches straight up. Settle deeper into your front knee and reach further up before stretching back. Take a big deep breath. Then inhale back to your warrior two and then straighten your front leg. Right hand to your hip, push into your hip crease to create that pelvic tilt. Extend your heart forward. Take your hand to a block, a shin, a thigh, wherever it needs to be to open up into your triangle pose. Little micro bend for your right knee. Push through your big toe mound and wrap your hip back. Turning more open through your torso, maybe stretch your top arm to the sky. Maybe keep it at your hip, that's okay too. Take a full big breath. Inhale, bend into your front knee, set both hands. Tuck your back toes and step back. Hands and knees or downward facing dog pose. Take a full, big, deep breath. And then as you lower to your knees and push hips back towards your heels, take a full breath in a child's pose, letting your hips do a little bit of movement. Letting your arms work a little further forward. Letting your head settle all the way down. Take a deep breath. And then gently push yourself up to your seat. And we're gonna come all the way to sitting bones. And we'll do one more hip stretch here. So our pigeon variation, I don't very often come into full pigeon pose because that's a tough one on the knees. So our left hip, just kidding, our right hip comes right up to the edge of your mat, right up to the right side, shin parallel to the front of your mat, give your foot a little engagement. Left leg, thigh straight out to the left, shin parallel to the left of your mat. You might find that now you feel a little lopsided in your seat. But give your feet a little engagement, lift up through your heart, and then you can fold over your front leg as deeply as your body needs. That might be considerably resting over it or coming up a little higher if that's problematic on any part of your hip or knee or thigh. Take a big deep breath. Find where that is for you. Again, a little engagement through the feet sometimes helps to keep the ankles and knees a little more safe. Full inhale and exhale. Two more deep breaths on this side. And then inhale, bring yourself all the way back upright and we'll switch sides. So as you come over to the left side of your mat, your left thigh parallel to the side of your mat, shin parallel to the front of your mat. Right thigh straight out to the right and shin parallel to the side of your mat. And then as you sit tall, just get a sense here for how this side feels to sit. Sometimes there tends to be a little intensity through the right hip on this side. Then as you walk your way into a forward fold over your leg, again, feel free to prop yourself as high as you need to, but engage your feet. Give a little flex and even a little push down through the pinky toe edge of your front foot, the big toe mound of your back foot. Take another full, long, deep inhale to grow longer here. Exhale, as you settle a little deeper, just notice for yourself where you need to be on this side. The hips are one of the many places in the body where we don't tend to be symmetrical. And so poses like this are an opportunity to really tune into those differences. And now inhale, gently bring yourself back upright. And both legs come out in front. And now we'll extend both legs here with our feet flexed. And you can have knees close or legs close together or legs a little wider. I like mine somewhere in between. But walk your heels in with flexed feet so your knees are bent. And then press your fingertips down beside you and lengthen. And as you do so, think of tilting your belly toward your legs. And then walk your hands down the outsides of your legs. Maybe they come to your feet or your shins. You get to decide where that is. But again, use your inhales to help yourself grow longer through your spine. And even think all the way down at the pelvis, tilting forward. Take a big deep breath. And now inhale, rise all the way back up. Feet walk in. We're going to come to lay all the way down onto our backs. And from your back, with your knees drawing in, you can take your knees as wide or as narrow as you need. But then a little rock to begin with. And then make some circles with your knees. They can be wide or more small in the circles. Switch directions with your circles. And then we're opening the knees up wide, hands on the insides of the knees if it's comfortable. You can always hold on in another way if that feels better. But flex your feet and then move your knees a little forward and back, allowing that little bit of tilt forward and back through pelvis. And now soles of feet come together, knees open wide into your butterfly. And you can always prop your knees up with your blocks or whatever you happen to have, but then reach your arms overhead. And for a few moments, pivot, move around through your pelvis. So you can do a little bit of pivoting on the sacrum, or a little forward and back tilt, or a little side to side tilt. And just explore that movement here for a moment to notice what kind of freedom you have through your pelvis today. And then bring your knees back up to center, drop your knees in together to touch. As you keep reaching through your arms, take a couple of big breaths and send your breath into the lowest part of your belly and into your low back. And now before we rest in Shavasana, if you'd like to take that one more movement of a windshield wiper here, you're welcome to. So you can separate your knees, take your feet wide and drop your knees side to side. Or you can simply make your way into your best resting pose. And as you find your way into your best resting pose, think of that place where any part of you that might tend to hold on to tension, if it's your hamstrings or your low back, think of that propping place that will help that part of you release. And now if you want, you can add that blanket over the pelvis, or you can add a blanket underneath your neck. But come to your resting pose and bring awareness to your pelvis and the settling into the ground. Letting any of those little movements settle. Bring awareness back to your breath. And add some gentle movement into fingers and into toes. And as you're ready to bend your knees and roll over to your side. Take a moment on your side for a full breath. Then gently bring yourself all the way back upright to your seat. And connect hands together at heart center. And allow that tilt of your belly forward. With your eyes closed, take another moment to direct your breath into your belly. Expanding and contracting at that area of your sacrum. For another moment in time, tuning back into that affirmation of I flow with the rhythms of life, open to the goodness around me. I flow with the rhythms of life, open to the goodness around me. Have a very peaceful, beautiful day. Namaste. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Dawn.